Howdy, folks. I don't know how much of this will be kept and saved, but I did want to come out real quick and Tara just lifted a very interesting thing that we can just kind of sit in for maybe the next 15 to 20 minutes, because I was talking about covering and artistic covering and divine covering. I'm gonna try to get Tara in here. Divine covering as it relates to one's gift. And she said to me that she sees singing as less of a divine gift and more of a human gift. And I really want to unpack this. And so I just left the room, and we'll see where this leads us. I needed to talk about this because I see it as an anointing thing. But I think that there are artists out there. Send a oh, I don't think you can. 1 second. There's no request. I can add you though. This, I got you. Because I think it could inform the ways in which a person creates their art, offers their art to the world.
Professional here.
Yeah, countertops are great. Hearing is what we had with Alexander Graham Bell doing his thing. So ears and mouths still work. The thing came up, and by thing I mean the concept in question came up of if you felt a covering when you sang, and you said, well, there is a technical thing called covering, but I feel like that may not be what your woo-woo is talking about. And then I started talking about bestowed blessings and bestowed gifts in the creative arenas and how I've used that, perhaps through my how God changes the brain in my neurotheology. I probably have constructed some kind of connection, but you're saying that neurotheological connection in your creativity is not something that you rely on to do what you do well. And I want to talk about it because, like, why do I need bestowed blessing or a God to do what I do well, beyond the fact that it does give me an empowered feeling, which is part of the whole neuromapping, the neurotheology thing that we've been kind of rolling around as well. But you really got me in my head.
Yes, as I do, as one does.
You said that you do not think about singing as a divine gift as much as a human one. Go off about that.
Okay, we've talked about this before. We talked about it like at the end of last year in terms of like what it was something in 52 weeks of conscious contact, right? Like, is it God's will or is it our will? And I think the belief that I hold that everyone can sing, and that to me means that it is a human gift, right? And there are animals that can sing too as well. We are animals, right? Like dolphins sing and whales sing and birdies sing, and we know these things that they sing. But I guess I view singing less as something that was bestowed upon me and more of something that is a communication method. Because again, everyone can sing. So,
but some of us have fine-tuned our communication methods. No?
Yes, but did we do that through God, or did we do that because we went to school, or because we grew up in choirs, or because someone took our hand, right? And said, oh my gosh, like, oh, you have such a pretty voice, right? Which is what happens to a lot of little kids, right? They're singing at church choir and whatever. I don't know who we're waving at because I can't see anybody coming in.
Oh, that was for a brief moment in time, the Capathia Jenkins of Broadway.
Oh, hello.
Yes, amazing inspiration to my soul.
Hello, friend.
Amazing voice.
I mean, I had this debate with, maybe not debate in the same way, but like, is singing a skill or is singing a gift, right? Like, and that was sort of the question, like, is singing a skill or is singing a gift? And I think you can technically view it as both, but in the way that we have a hierarchy of qualifications of what is a good voice and what makes a good performer and what makes a good singer, which I'm not sure I necessarily agree with all the parameters and that thing. It's certainly a skill, right? But it is a gift that is bestowed on all of us. We have the option to pursue the skill if we want to. And normally that happens at a pretty young age of like, oh my gosh, this kid is tremendously talented. But sometimes it's not even about their voice. Sometimes it's like, oh, this kid is so outgoing. Oh, this kid is so, you know, they can memorize the words, or oh, they can sing harmony. Like, there's so many like various reasons why a kid gets quote unquote picked up. Even in, you know, even if we talk about in the church, in the church choir, that's certainly where I started singing, was at church. But I never, no one ever said to me, your gift is a divine gift. And so I never was imbued with that belief. Essentially, I was imbued with you have the opportunity and the will to do whatever you want with this voice that we believe is good and pretty and whatever. And you use that the way that you want, but not, you know, this gift is given to you and it will
this is
be
now
taken away.
yeah,
Right.
that's exactly where I was going, because I was always told that my gift was a gift from God, and that if I did not use it for His messages and purposes alone, welcome Kenza Wenza, you're loved and lovable. Um, Shamalama Ding Dong. Thank you so much. You're loved and lovable. Um, that if I did not use my gifts for the glory of higher power, that it would be like Ursula, that it would be taken away. And so maybe the idea that I sing under that authority now translates into everything I do without it necessarily needing to be the case. It is great inspiration, though. It is a good totem. We cannot deny that singing to ethereal beings, or having that imaginary space could be fun for those of us who like that. I, as a Meisner person, like the idea that when I'm, some of y'all know that we practice divine arts in our home, and so there are $2 bills above several doorposts in our homes for the attraction of money and wealth and abundance under certain philosophies. And there are times when I'm singing to God, I will just motion towards that dead president on the $2 bill above the door. Fun totem. These are all different kinds of inspirations, you know, inspirational tools. But when you uh, disconnected it in that way so abruptly, it reminded me that all of this shit is made up.
And sure. And, you know, my ethereal, right, singing into the ether is actually my singing to an audience that may or may not be present in the room, but it's a human audience. Like, I don't ever think about the higher power. I think about the energy that I'm bringing into the room and then sharing later. Like, even on the recording the other day, I was like, okay, yep, what do I need to put in this song called Healing, right? I need to showcase healing, right? But that wasn't for an ethereal, although there was no one else in the room. It was for humanity. Yeah.
We're talking about point of focus, point of attraction, point of intention. It's all energetics. And I want to thank you for rolling this conversation around with me today. For the, let's see, it's, not too long, a few minutes.
A few minutes.
Because one thing that we share in our practices is an idea that no matter where you source your inspiration, it deserves to be expressed. And that's
Correct.
the reason why I wanted to kind of capture this moment for the pod and for all of the other sharing spaces, because we run a very interesting operation in that we don't think the same ways in this movement about the same things. And that allows for a diversity of thought, expression, and experience that I think is important for people to witness. Because in the spaces that I come through and out of, there's a lot of smiling and nodding and going along with, yo, God is good all the time, of course, even though that may not be the actual held belief inside. And
Right.
I want to dwell in a new level of truth in this new beyond expression of creativity. So I hope you don't feel like like we were like I was like, oh girl, we got to go somewhere and
Mm-mm.
get this recorded because
No,
this is
I think it's important because again, like I would say one of the primary places, right? There's two primary places where we're quote unquote picked up as singers, right? As kids, if we're kid performers, which both of us were. Um, we hello, we had to go over the chair. We get picked up in either church or school, right? Church or like first grade choir, right? And because of that, I think one of the things about the church world that I never really fell into, um, mayhaps because one of my earliest memories from church is a negative one of someone screaming at me in my first show as one of the three wise men, like a whole adult human. And so I maybe escaped that. But I think it's a commonly held belief if you're picked up in the church that you can only use your gift for one thing. And that does not actually allow you to be free, right? That
free or
right
marketable.
straps you in to this ideology that there is bad music or harmful music, right? And there's not, really, there's not. It's all just community, it's all just communication. So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. And then people rely on quote unquote, and I've heard this from students that have been raised in the church and like now want to sort of like, I want to be a soloist at church or blah, 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 blah. A lot of times they say to me, I just don't feel God right now, so I can't sing in lesson.
Eek, eek,
Like, who made you believe that?
eek.
And it goes back to what we talked about. It's like, okay, well, can't you talk without God giving you permission? Can't you sing without God giving you permission? Can't you? And then, you work down that train, and it's like there's just this held belief of like my singing should only exist in these specific spaces in these specific ways, and I just truly don't believe that, right? So I guess I'm happy to have not had here's what I think. I think believing that you are singing to the ethereal and believing that there is a higher power and that your gift is divinely given is fine. I think it's great. I think it gives a lot of people motivation. I think it gives us a place to build from. I think the problem is the flip side of that, which is what I was just describing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we get a lot of in the church space of like,
Right.
oh, you're wrong because you're using your voice to sing secular music, or oh, you're wrong because you aren't waiting for God to tell you to sing. You're not letting the Spirit overtake you, right? You're just singing. You know, in some religions, hundreds of years ago, Christianity, even folks, women weren't allowed to sing.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
like,
I mean, in my life, 20 years ago, I sang in revivals where the women were not allowed on the pulpit. They had to be handed a microphone off the stage to talk. Eek. In
Right.
my life.
Right.
So thank you for having these conversations. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for having these conversations with me, Tara, because it does create a contextual framework for what we are liberating people from and through. It is deconstruction work at its core, and it only makes the art richer,
Right. Agreed.
more heartfelt, because the heart is within us. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a really good situation. So thank you for having this conversation with me today. I will throw it up and then call you on back channels. Loved and lovable. If y'all are interested in learning more about this awesome light and perspective in the universe, in the cosmos, called Terra Priolo, I'll go to terrapriolo.com, TARAPRIOLO.com, and also join all of us over at lovedandlovable.org for conversations like these. We know that there is a yearning for truth and inner understanding, and we talk about it daily in our community. So tap in, folks, and we'll see you around.